everybody. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you all. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, please be seated. Be seated. It's the lucky part. You get to sit, I get to stand. Although we got some people standing in the back too, and I know we have some people in another room who are watching us on TV. So that's good. Thank you for coming too. Sorry we couldn't fit everybody in one room, but it's a little crazy here sometimes. And I'm thrilled to have all of you here today. And it is a big day. It's a big day, the 100th Town Hall. Number 100. When we started doing this, I don't know if we ever really thought we'd get to 100, but we like doing it so much that, we just kept going. And people kept being interested. Yeah, you like it too? All right, that's good. That's good. Now, I don't know, guys, if you really need all these lights, but for my advanced staff, I don't know how we're going to do this, but and some people are really suffering here with their hands up and blocking the lights the way they are, so I don't know if we can do something different, but if we can, let's try to do something a little bit different. Maybe use these lights overhead instead. Thanks so much for coming. You see all these different banners over here. Town halls had different themes all the way throughout, different things that I wanted to emphasize, talk to you about, things that I thought were really, really important to talk about as a state. See, in the end, what these town halls are about, they're about a conversation. Hey, here we go. They're about having a conversation between me and you. And people have asked me a lot as we came up to the 100th Town Hall. Some members of the press and others have asked me about, why do I do this and why do I continue to do it, why do I like it? And I have to tell you, because when you're governor, it's an interesting thing that happens to you. When you're running for governor as a challenger, in your heart of hearts, you never really think you're going to win. When you're running against the incumbent governor, you try as hard as you can, you're working, but it always feels kind of uphill. And so you don't think a lot about what it's going to like to actually be governor. You're just running and trying to get to election day and hoping that you're standing up okay on election day and that you get a lot of votes and you don't embarrass yourself, Well, what happens then, it happened to me back in 2009 on election day, election night, was when it became clear to me that I was going to be elected governor. Your whole life starts to change. Immediately. And I'll tell you, when I say immediately, I mean immediately. We're in a hotel room in the Parsippany Hilton up in Morris County. And after it's clear to us that we have enough votes and we're going to win, I want to walk down the hall. The lieutenant governor-elect had a hotel room down the hall. So I want to go down the hall and congratulate her and her family. And I walked down the room and there were 3 guys in suits standing there with wires in their ears. Good evening, fellas. And good evening, sir. Okay. So I walk and they start to follow me. I turn around and go, no big deal, I'm just going down to Kim's room, you don't have to worry about it. Yes, sir. That's okay. I keep walking, they keep following me. And they've been following me ever since. Ever since that moment, your life becomes completely different. The family knows about this, we call it the bubble. You're in the bubble or you're not in the bubble. And then it's become like a family thing to be saying now, okay, let's go, let's move, you gotta stay in the bubble. Don't get lost from the bubble. Keep an eye, keep them in the bubble. Well, the bubble keeps me away from you. Now, part of it is to keep me safe, and I understand that. And troopers do a great job, and they're doing their job well, because I'm still here, so they're doing okay. But also, it makes it hard for me to communicate with all of you. Because now, I never go in the front door of any place. I'm always going in some back door, side door. I walk through more kitchens than you'll ever walk through in your entire life. Every hotel in New Jersey, man, I know the cooks and the wait staff. I know them all. I'm through. I've been to some of them so many times, I'm like, yeah, good to see you. They don't even turn around and all right, good. You then walk out into a little room like this, and there's 800 people here. Where the hell did all these people come from? Nothing stays normal any longer. So we started to do this because I said to my staff, I want to have a way to hear from the people who elected you. Not with a filter from anybody else. I want to hear from them directly. I want them to be able to ask me questions. I want to be able to answer them. If they're angry, I want to hear it. If they're happy, I want to hear it. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me in touch, at least somewhat, to the real world. And so that's how they started and why they started. And ever since that time, 99 and before today, it has helped to keep me in touch. And they've evolved over time. In the beginning, I used to stand up on a stage, like in a school auditorium mostly. And I'd be up on the stage and people would be down below and kind of be looking up at me and they'd be standing in line waiting for questions. And we just didn't like the feel of that. And so we did that for a little while, then we changed it. And we changed it a few different times. And they changed it, I think, sometimes just to keep me on my toes when I walk into the place to see how things are going. But the one constant in all of it is you. So you come, you show up, you have questions, you have issues, you have problems, and you want me to help answer them, fix them, solve them. And that's what this has become. So, what are we talking about today? First, is you may have heard a couple of weeks ago that I got a little bit upset about some stuff that was going on in Washington, D.C. Or, more to the point, stuff that wasn't going on in Washington, D.C. Over time, is that my job as governor is the thing that I take most seriously beside my family and my life. And it's more important to me than my political party, it's more important to me than anything else, is you all put me here. And my job is to stand up for you. And sometimes it's going to put me on the same side of the issue with my party, and sometimes it's going to make me say my party's family. I'm going to do both. When I'm happy with them, I'll tell you. And when I'm unhappy with them, I'll tell you. And that's what we did a couple weeks ago with the Speaker of the House and the other folks down in Washington who did not understand or seem to care about what happened to our state and the destruction that is still here and the thousands and thousands and thousands of families who are still displaced. And I just needed a way to make them understand a little bit better that we're serious here. And the serious part of what we're saying to them is this. In New Jersey, we don't expect anything more than we're given to Americans in Louisiana, in Mississippi, in Alabama during Katrina, or in Texas during Ike or Gustav, or the folks in Joplin, Missouri who suffered those awful tornadoes, and the people who all suffered the awful flooding in Iowa. And as New Jerseyans, we stood up and we sent our own money out there. The folks, forget about the taxes we spent. We donated to help them. Many New Jerseyans went, both government officials and non-government officials, went and helped people. Because that's what we're all about. That's what Americans are all about. We stand up and help each other, and our government the same way. We're supposed to be there in times of disaster to help each other. And so, when Hurricane Katrina happened, the Congress passed $60 billion in aid to those three states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, 10 days after the storm. 72 days after the storm here that destroyed so much of New Jersey and New York. We were still waiting. We were still waiting, and we had waited long enough. So we don't expect anything more, but I'll tell you one thing. I think what they now understand is we won't accept anything less either. We don't deserve anything less. So, in my normal, subtle, understated way, I tried to make that clear a week or two ago. And luckily, yesterday, as I'm sure, I hope you've heard or read, the House of Representatives voted to send us the $60 billion in aid to us in New York. And so in the same way that I was unhappy with them before, I have to say, now, a little bit delayed, a little late to the party, but that's okay. If you're coming with $60 billion, you can show up late. That's okay. I'm sure I speak on behalf of myself and Governor Cuomo, who the two of us worked completely together on this. And whenever they tried to separate the two of us, we just moved closer together. Because our people came first, not our party. Our people came first, not our state borders. We knew we all had similar types of problems, and we had to deal with them. We had to work together and use the power of both New York and New Jersey together to get people's attention in Washington. But I thank the Speaker and the Majority Leader Cantor and Hal Rogers, the Chairman of the Appropriations Committee, and most importantly, our congressional delegation here, Republicans and Democrats. They work together in a way that was really incredibly heartening to see. You know, to see Frank Pallone and Bill Castrell working with Rod Frelinghuysen and John Runyon. Let me tell you, it don't happen every day, everybody. It doesn't happen every day. And they all work together. Frank Lobiondo, Rush Holt, all the members of our delegation and our senators. We now have the work to finish to get this through the United States Senate. They got the hard job. They have to do it once, they got to get it through a second time. But they will. And I'm confident the President will sign it when it gets through his desk. And so, all of them deserve our thanks and our appreciation. They didn't do it exactly the way we would have wanted to do it. They didn't do it exactly in the time that we think they should have, but they've now done it. I think the Senate will follow suit, the President will sign it, and then you're going to see things really be able to start to be rebuilt here in this state and to try to return things back as close as we can to normal after the horrible events that we've gone through over the last nearly 90 days. So for all those folks in the House of Representatives, the Republicans and the Democrats, I think I speak for all New Jersey when I say thank you. Thank you very much for what you've done. Now, what's this going to mean for us if all this happens? Well, a few things. First, aid is going to be divided up into a whole bunch of different categories, right? So some of the aid is going to go directly to state agencies, to the Department of Transportation to fix roads that were destroyed, to replace train cars that were destroyed, to replace train track that was destroyed, overhead wires that were destroyed. So some of the aid will go directly to these state agencies to be able to repair the infrastructure in our state that's been destroyed, and also to attempt to improve it. So we have another storm, we don't have the same level of destruction and loss. And so the aid there is in two different categories, one to repair, and then one to improve those. And that's the old don't throw good money after bad routine, right? We don't want to fix it once to a lower standard, and then we get another storm, same thing happens, got to fix it again. Let's try to do it once and see if we can survive what happens next. Some funding is going to go directly to the Army Corps of Engineers. Now, one of the things that we learned here, and this is particularly important being in the Jersey Shore today, is there should no longer be any debate about whether the engineered dune systems work or they don't. They work. When you have large engineered dunes, it protects the beachfront property, and just as important, it protects the inland property as well. And if you look, and there's been a high issue down here in Harvey Cedars, people suing each other and getting money and all the rest of the stuff. Let me just tell you flat out how I feel about it. Some of you may like it, some of you may not. But here's the bottom line. There are going to be homeowners up and down the shore who don't, once again, want to sign easements to have these dunes built because it's going to block their view. Okay? We had people lose their lives in this storm. We had people lose everything they owned in this storm to protect your view. Sorry. They need to know that I'm going to do everything that I can do to make sure, everything I can do within the law, to make sure that these dunes get built. The federal government is now funding lots of these dune projects that have been authorized before but never funded. It will take care of almost the entire Jersey shoreline from Sandy Hook to Cape May. You need a replenishment of the old dunes or building of new ones. And that was like a direct request to the president. When I flew with the president in Marine One, 2 days after the storm, up and down the shoreline, I kept showing him, see, here we are in Avalon, Mr. President, where they had these dunes. Look at how there's no destruction in them. Here we are at Ortley Beach, Mr. President, where there were no dunes, everything's gone. I said, Mr. President, this isn't an optional thing anymore. If you want to protect New Jersey's economy, if you want to protect New Jersey's property, if you want to protect New Jersey's people, we need to do this. So I made the pitch to the president to do this, and the president stepped forward, and his proposal to Congress, which they adopted, he has funded the Army Corps of Engineers to build all these dune systems. I am going to do everything I can to make sure that some private homeowners aren't going to be the ones who are going to either stop that from happening or hold the taxpayers for ransom for their views. It's not right. Last kind of broad category of aid will come under block grants. Now, this is a very interesting argument I was hearing in Washington, D.C., because some conservative Republicans were opposed to this funding. Now, as the first time I ever heard conservative Republicans opposed the block grants. They want a block grant Medicaid, they want a block grant, because it's so wide, by the way. All kinds of things. What block grants do is to give the governor of an individual state control over that money. So the federal government, people sitting in some cubicle in Washington, D.C., isn't deciding how to spend the money best in Stafford Township. But the governor, who's on the ground in that state, is making that decision along with local elected officials. So we have a really unprecedented amount of block granting that was done in this bill, about $17 billion of block granting between ourselves and Governor Cuomo in New York. And that's going to cover everything from helping to fill gaps for people who need to rebuild their homes, and the whole cost is not covered by your insurance and FEMA that's paid already. There'll be some additional help for that. Folks who need rental assistance, additional help for that. Business grants, not loans, but grants to small businesses up and down New Jersey who need a grant to get their business reopened and to get restarted in their lives again professionally. We'll have that kind of money available as well, and others. And that money will be shared with New York State, a little bit to Connecticut as well. And we'll be working with the federal government to get that money here and to use it in ways that help to bring normalcy back. And now, remember, in the beginning of the storm, we defined normalcy as getting kids back to school, getting your electricity back on, getting gas stations running again, getting telephone service running again, and making sure that you have a warm place to stay. Normalcy now has got to be getting our beaches rebuilt, getting our amusements and boardwalks rebuilt, getting our businesses rebuilt, and getting people back in their primary residences. That's the way now we're going to find a new normal. Now, you probably see, I don't know exactly when the Senate's going to consider this bill. I think it's next week, and then it'll go to the president for signature, assuming the Senate does the right thing. Now, when the president signs this bill, don't expect now, for those who have been affected by this, that the next day, I'm going to be on your doorstep with a check, okay? How you doing? How much do you need? Thank you very much. You know, that's not the way it's going to work. I'd love for it to work that way, but that's not the way it's going to work. We have to put a proposal into the federal government, and we're talking about this will take weeks, not months. But we're going to need some weeks after that to put our proposals in, get them approved, and then get the money here to New Jersey and begin distributing it to homeowners, business owners, contractors who are going to be working on rebuilding homes and reconstructing homes, refurbishing homes and businesses. So it's going to take a little while. So now, everybody's been pretty patient so far. So I want everybody to get crazy now. You know, a week or two from now, I'm expecting that you'll all be running around handing out checks, the minute the president signs the bill. It's a little bookkeeping that needs to get done when you're talking about $60 billion. So we'll be working with Governor Cuomo and myself and Governor Malloy in Connecticut and folks in the federal government. The President has put the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Sean Donovan, in charge of the approvals on the money from the federal government side. We've already been speaking to each other, and so we'll get it all together and we'll get it as quickly as possible, and I'll keep you up to date on how we're making progress. So that's the way that will work. What are we hoping to see next summer? This summer, actually, 2013 now. So what are we hoping to see this summer? Well, the Jersey Shore is not going to look in the summer of 2013 the way it looked in the summer of 2012. It's just not. And we have to have our expectations set appropriately. There's just simply not enough time between now and 4th of July, let's say, for us to have all that stuff done. For everybody's home to be rebuilt. For all the businesses to be back up and running. For all the beaches to be replenished. We're just not going to have enough time for that. But what we're hoping to do for this coming summer is to make the Jersey Shore functional and livable again. That enough businesses will be reopened, that people are going to come here and be able to be served by those businesses. That the beaches will be in good enough shape and clean and put together and ready to go, that people will be able to come and swim the Atlantic Ocean and sit on the beach and read their books and get a little tan. Just a little bit. Just a little. Keep your hats on. We're going to want to make sure that there are enough properties rebuilt so that if folks want to rent a place to bring their family for a week, they can do that. If they want to have a hotel or a motel that they get to stay in somewhere along the Jersey Shore that nothing knows are rebuilt and back up and running, that we can get people where they need to be so they can take a week off and take a deep breath from all the stuff that's happened to us in the last number of months. So that's what we're hoping for this summer. And I think then by summer of 2014, we're much more likely to see the New Jersey Shore that we remembered in the summer of 2012 than we will this year. I think everybody understands that. But I don't want there to be unrealistic expectations, and I'm certainly not going to make promises to you that I don't think I can keep. So I want to do this the right way. I want to do this as quickly as possible. I want to do it the right way. We want to rebuild this thing the right way. You know, we're going to be adopting all kinds of new standards for rebuilding as well. We're going to have to get tougher. See, some of the homes that had built to more modern standards survived. Some of the homes that were built to older standards are gone. Remember, 58 different buildings were washed into Barnegat Bay in Maniloki alone. Think about that. Entire buildings, 58 of them, are sitting either bobbing in Barnegat Bay or sunken to the bottom of Barnegat Bay that we just started this week removing from the bay. 58 different buildings, just in Maniloki alone. Not to count the sand that not only was in the streets here, but also was driven into the bay, all the way from the ocean, all the way across the barrier islands, into the bay, which has increased the level of the bay as well. It makes us more concerned about flooding as well. So we've got a lot of work to do. Good news is that the first thing we had to get done was debris removal on land. And we have about 50 to 60 towns that had significant debris. We've got a third of them that are completely cleaned up now. You know, not quite 90 days from the storm, all the debris gone. About 3 million cubic yards of debris already been removed from New Jersey. And so we're moving to get it to look more normal that way. And now we want to make our waterways navigable again. So I told you about the 58 buildings in Maniloki. Across the Jersey Shore, 1,400 boats were sunken or abandoned in our waterways during standing. 1,400 boats that we got to go get to make our waterways navigable again. So there's a lot of work to be done still. But the good news is we now have the wherewithal to do that. Congress completes its action in the next week or so. And we're going to be able to continue to do the things that we're doing. The thing I tried to explain to folks in Washington was just how tough the people are around here. First, I tried to do it to kind of put their minds at ease and say, listen, we're going to be fine. The president came the first time, I said to him, I said, how is everything? I said, listen, people are shook up, Mr. President. and they're distraught over the loss of so much of their lives and their memories. But these are really tough people, and they're going to come back, and they're going to be okay. Then, about 60 days later, I was telling them how tough you were to try to scare the hell out of them. These people, remember these people that said we're tough enough to survive this storm and be okay? These are the same people who are not very happy right now when you guys dawdling down here and not getting your work done, and you don't want to encounter these folks. I am one of them, but only one. Imagine if I get a whole bunch of them down here. This is not going to be good for you. So I want to thank all of you, because I know so many of you in this room were directly affected by the storm. And if you weren't, you have family and friends who were directly affected. Maybe you're housing some of your family and friends in your houses to keep them together while they're waiting for get their own home situation put together. Maybe, God help people rip out drywall and carpeting and all the things that were ruined in different homes that are still standing. Maybe you went and helped somebody sift through a destroyed home and try to pick up a few memories, some pictures, some keepsakes, that they would have at least something from before October 29th. For all of you, I can't say thank you enough, because as I've been doing all the stuff I've been doing, my wife would ask me at times, very kindly would ask me when I get home really late nights really the first 6 or 7 weeks after the storm, when I was basically working 7 days a week. And I would come home really late, and she would say to me, I don't know how you're still moving. And I would say to her, it's because of the people. I go out and do this stuff, and I get energy from them. I go out and be dog tired. Then I'd be going to a town like Sayreville, and I'd see all the suffering that's going on there, and how resilient those people were. They were asking, just don't forget us. Make sure you help us. I get great energy from that and inspiration from that. And that's happened all up and down the Jersey Shore, on the Bay Shore, and up in Bergen County, in places like Monocacy and Little Ferry, where so many people got hurt as well. And so, from my perspective, I want to say thank you to all of you, because you kept me going. And your resilience and your toughness kept reminding me of where I came from and what we're all about. And so, it's been gratifying for me to be able to work for you. It's a great job. Even in days like this, it's a great job, because you're going to make a difference. To make a real difference each and every day. So, now we're going to get one other mention I want to make. Mill Creek Community Center. I got a call one day. I got some wild calls during this time, I got to tell you. Some wild calls. So imagine one day, my assistant comes in to the Emergency Operations Center where I was staying with my friend, running the response to the storm, and says, Governor, Alec Baldwin is on the phone for you. Now, I said, Alec Baldwin, you mean the guy who said if George W. Bush got elected president, he was going to move to Canada? Right? Like that Alec Baldwin? He's calling me, the Republican governor of New Jersey, Alec Baldwin. And he said to me, I got on the phone with him, and he said, Governor, I really love the stuff you guys are doing there. Love New Jersey. Spent a lot of time there. I want to help. And I said, that's great. What do you have in mind? He said, is what I like to do. All the Capital One commercials he does? Right, pretty funny, right? So his Capital One commercials, he told me, all the money he makes from the Capital One commercials, he donates to charity. And he said, I don't keep any of that money, I donate all of it to charity. And he said, so I'd really like to know about a community center in your state where people were helped and that got damaged, and that I can help to donate some money to help to rebuild it or repair it, so that those people have their community center at least in better shape than it was immediately after the storm. So he said, do you know one? And I said, let me get back to this. So I talked around with some of our folks, and everybody kind of agreed that this was the place to do it. So I called them back and I said, look at the Mill Creek Community Center down in our Jersey Shore. And I said, I had no idea how much you wanted to donate. So I said, so how much do you want to donate? And he said, that's $250,000. And I said, that's really good. And he said to me, well, great. He said, I'm I'm going to write a check for $250,000 to the Mill Creek Community Center. And you tell those folks that Alec Baldwin admires to have a place in their town where they can keep people safe and warm and watched after the storm. And I want it to be at least as good as it was before the storm hit. So we're here, in Stafford. We got to say thank you. I can't believe I'm actually doing this. Thank you, Alec Baldwin. Like I said, a bunch of crazy stuff, going on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart or being on Saturday Night Live. A lot of crazy stuff trying to keep people laughing as all this stuff was going on a little bit, to keep myself laughing a little bit. And a lot of people have come to our aid this state. That's the last thing I want to mention. Mary Pat's not here today. She works. So she's up in New York working today. But one of the things that she's done and done an amazing job on was she's established the Hurricane Sandy New Jersey Relief Fund. And she's, from the first minute I asked her to do it, which was the Thursday after the storm hit, she's been completely in charge of it, put together her board of professional people, went to IBM and got IBM to donate people to put together a professional grant review and a grant review policy so that it's all done professionally. Called President Bush, 43, and asked who took care of the Haiti Relief Fund that he and President Clinton did together. And so President Bush and President Clinton sent their person who ran the Haiti Relief Fund for them to New Jersey to help us set up the relief fund. And then she got people to raise money for it, like Bruce Christie and John Bon Jovi, and Brian Williams and Bono from U2. And, just amazing people that she got on the phone and asked us to help them and said yes. And the amazing part of it is that so far, she and this group have raised $31 million. And they're starting to distribute the money in the next 2 weeks to help fill gaps that people will have to get themselves back on their feet. And she said to me, listen, the only thing I'm going to do, I'm not making any decisions on the grants. She goes, because I want to give everybody one. And she said, I'm too emotional about it. So she has a professional board of folks who have done this before, who are going to go through and review all the different grant applications and get money out to folks. But imagine that, just for New Jersey, people from all around the world. And we have so far over 21,000 individual donors to the fund. Everything from kids who said that they would do Christmas caroling, and then asked for donations after they caroled for the New Jersey Relief Fund. And they wrote her this letter and they said, we must not have sung all that well because we only raised $47. But they sent the $47. And they said, we've got to be better singers. That's how we do it. All the way up to somebody like John Hess, the CEO of the Hess Oil Company, whose family has been a huge part of New Jersey for generations. Himself wrote a check for $2.5 million to the fund. And everything in between. 21,000 other people in between those two numbers. With people who have given online, sent in letters and checks. So she's done an amazing job. It's going to help a lot of people in the state. I say all the time that, before we get to the questions, if there is family in the house, I have to introduce them. Now, usually, what that means is my father is once again at one of my town hall meetings. My father follows me all around the state. He's 79 years old. He follows me all around the state. Now, imagine this. My father, who's traveled all over the state to come to town hall meetings, lives in Waretown. Right? Lives in Waretown. And guess what? He's not here today. I set up the 100th town hall so that there would actually be in his backyard. And yesterday, he sends me a text message and goes, oh, by the way, I'm having some minor surgery tomorrow, so I can't make the town hall, but good luck. And it is very minor, he's going to be fine. But he's not here today. But I've done 100 town halls, 100 today. And there's one member of my family, of my immediate family, who has never been to one of my town halls. I think he was afraid it was going to be a failure, and he did not want to be associated with the stench of failure. So he waited till I did 99 of them. That got nearly 3 million YouTube hits. And he finally said to me today, okay, Dad, I'll come today. So my oldest son, Andrew, is here. Andrew, stand up, let everyone stand up. So I gotta be good today. We've been waiting 99 town halls for this one, so I gotta be good. So now we get to the fun part. We get to the part where you get to ask me questions and I get to answer. I think the guy who was out here for my advanced staff talking to me before told you, he gave you some rules. Those are just the pretend rules. Here are the real rules. There are 4 real rules for the Christie Town Hall meetings. Rule number 1 is you raise your hand and I call on you. Please do not yell out questions. If you yell out questions, I will not answer them. So don't bother. Even if you yell really loudly, I won't answer them. So raise your hand and I call on you. Rule number 2 is, please don't start to ask your question until you get a microphone. One of my guys will come around. It's probably a pretty big crowd today and kind of tight. So it might take them a little while to get there, but they'll get to you. Wait till you get the microphone because there's too many people here, and the 250 people we have in a separate room here or watching on television will never be able to hear you unless you use the microphone. So you need to use the microphone and tell me your name and where you're from. I don't want to say, hey, you in the orange sweater. I'd rather use your name when I'm talking to you. So if you say your name and where you're from, that would be really appreciated. Rule number 3 is not really a rule. It's more of a guideline, a little bit of advice. When you get this microphone in your hand, you are going to feel an indescribable but undeniable gravitational pull to give a speech. Take my word for it. It happens, okay? And I'll listen to your speech for a little while. I promise you I will. But if you start to go on a little bit too long, I don't want to be rude, but I'm just going to go, When you start hearing me go, that's the warning. And if you keep going on, and go, I understand your question. Okay, let me try to answer your question. And it's not that I don't want to hear your speech, it's just that we got 800 people in here today. I'd like to try to get to as many questions as I can. And if you go on for a long time, I won't be able to get to that. And rule number 4 is this. Now, there have been now 100 of these town halls. And some of you who I see here have been to town halls before. We lovingly call you the repeat offenders. You're back for more, but there are a lot of people here who are new faces to me. And so you haven't been to one, but you may have heard about them. You may have seen little portions of them, like I said before, on YouTube, or when they get really hot on the TV news at night. And you may have seen some of my more colorful and interesting interactions with my people, the people of New Jersey. Sometimes it gets a little hot in here, but I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to be afraid, because I'm here to answer the questions. However, I know there may be some people here who disagree with me about some things. Or maybe don't like some of the things that I've done. And that's okay, it's a free country, and that's what I'm here. I'm here to hear everything. And if you have a disagreement with me, or a criticism to make, or something you want to give me a hard time about, that's fine. If you do it in a reasonable and respectful way, you'll get a reasonable and respectful disagreement back from me. However, if you decide that because it's the 100th town hall, and we got all the banners here, and we got all these cameras from all over, the media all over the place, if you decide that today's the day you want to show off your friends, that today's the day you decide you want to take the governor of New Jersey out for a walk. I think we all know what I mean by that, okay? If you decide, I just have one simple reminder for you. I want to remind you that we are all from New Jersey. And what that means is, if you give it, you are getting it right back. All right? So those are the rules. Let's get going. Who's first? Yes, ma'am, on the aisle, right back there. Nope, not the lady in the pink sweater, the lady behind you in the blue blazer. There you go. Yes, ma'am.
Governor,
Good afternoon.
thank you for coming tonight.
Happy to be here.
I'm Patricia Jones, and I live here in Manhattan. I want to say congratulations. Crossing the lines, doing what you've done, getting the governors and New York and people from this state to realize that you are a good government.
Thank you.
I'm truly sorry for the people who have lost their homes. Unfortunately, thank God, didn't. Got one more way, but that was it. My daughter still has a family. The one thing most of all is, yes, we do need to get those dreams back. We do need to save the shore again. And we need to save Manhattan and Beach Haven West and all the other towns that have had a problem. I'm going to go on to, oh, by the way, remember the president that passed today with 51 million billion. He is pretty much convinced that everything is going to be taken care of by the government soon as AIDS. Yes. But yeah, I like the fact you're working with the government of New York. It's important. But there's something that is very important and being discussed right now. And I call them weapons of mass destruction. And New York has just passed a bill to take care of their own stuff about the federal government doing it. I'm going to ask you, the hunters need guns. I don't like hunting, but they need hunting guns. They do not need these weapons. And they're going to these shows and picking up all these massive weapons for what? The Second Amendment, yes, says that they can have them. But doesn't, because when the Second Amendment was formed, there was no such weapons. There was rifles for show, for hunting and everything else. And I'm asking you, if you can get the legislature in this state to go along and put in a law like New York Governor Cuomo has just done.
Well, let me say this. First off, thank you for your question. In New Jersey, we already have an assault weapons ban. That assault weapons ban got passed back in 1992. And so since 1992, assault weapons have been banned in New Jersey. I spent during my time as a prosecutor in this state for 7 years, from 2001 to 2008. And then in my time as governor, we're running for governor here, that I support that. And the fact is that we'll have some more things to say this week about how New Jersey will approach it. We're certainly going to look at what New York has done. They did it very quickly. And I want to make sure we do it the right way. And so New Jersey has already, in the laws that we have on the books now, gone well past what the federal state limits are. We have the second strictest gun laws in America up until New York passed the new ones that was passed. And I think now we're third behind California and New York. So we're going to take a look at it. I'll have more to say about that in the next few days. But the fact is, you should know that when they talk about assault weapons and the discussion about that at the federal level, it's already been done here in New Jersey. Those weapons were banned 21 years ago here. And New Jersey back then did it, made the decision to do it. And Republicans and Democrats, governors and legislatures have kept that in place in the 21 years since that time. So that's where we are. We're going to have more to say about it in the next couple of days in terms of how we go forward. But I want to make one point on this though. That if all we do is talk about gun control, we're missing the point. This is about violence control. The young man who committed that horrific act in Newtown, Connecticut, killed those teachers and administrators and those 20 beautiful little children. He was a seriously mentally ill young man. And you have to ask yourself, what was he doing not being treated? What was he doing living in a house where his mother legally owned all those weapons? And he had access to them. His mother's dead today because he was not being treated. And we also found out about him since that time that he spent hours and hours in his basement on his PS3 or his Xbox playing games like Call of Duty Black Ops, where time after time after time, children are sitting there in real-life simulation, murdering people with weapons over and over and over. You can't tell me that that doesn't desensitize young people to the real consequences of violence. And so, what I'd like to have a conversation about in New Jersey and intend to start very, very soon is not just about gun control, that's part of it, but it's about violence control. What do we do to try to help the mentally ill? What do we do about the sales of these video games? What are we going to do about substance abuse and treatment? And, you know, we had a young woman, a mother, in Camden a couple of months ago, high on marijuana and PCP, who decapitated her young child and then committed suicide. No gun involved. Violence control. And so I absolutely believe we have to have a continued discussion about gun control, and I'm happy to be a part of that conversation. But if that's all we do, then we're playing politics. And we're avoiding the other hard issues too, about how do we share information about people who have mental illness so they can't get those weapons in their possession. How do we make sure they're being treated? How do we deal with people with substance abuse and those same issues? And how do we deal with the violence that is awash in our media and in these video games that kids are obsessed with? It's not good for us to have a conversation about just one thing. We need to discuss all of it. That's the conversation I'm going to be meeting with the state over the next number of weeks and months. And if there's some good laws that can come out of that to make us safer and to help make the people themselves who have these problems safer. Because remember, he's dead too. That young man was a disturbed young man who then turned the gun on himself in the end. So 27 lives were lost that day. And we need to talk about what we can do as a society beyond just gun control. Because remember, Connecticut has strict gun laws. His mother owned those legally, and he got access to them because he was willing to stay in house with them. So even if you passed gun control laws that were strict like Connecticut's, it wouldn't have prevented what happened. And so we need to have this bigger, broader conversation, and that's what I intend to try to help to lead, and I thank you for bringing it up. Yes, ma'am. Right there. No, not him. You. You both raise your hands. I see. Now this is a violation of an unspoken rule. This happens all the time, by the way. Someone raises a hand, but they're not really raising it for themselves. They're raising it for the person next to them. But that's okay. I didn't announce the rule beforehand, so I cannot enforce it now. But moving forward, raise your hand only for yourself. You've been warned. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Tom Paxton. My wife and myself own Great Bay Marina and Little Lake Harbor.
Sure.
And we've had basically no help from insurance or any of the governmental agencies.
Let me stop you there for a second and just ask a question.
Sure.
Why no help from insurance?
Well, we have insurance on our building. Our docks are not insured, but we haven't gotten a dime from our insurance.
Okay. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But we need to find out about how we can get grants to help rebuild our docks if we don't have the finances to do it. And how do we get on the list with that? How do we find out about grant availability and deal with that?
Well, first thing, let me deal with the insurance piece of it. If you'll get a card from one of my guys. Send us your information, who your insurance company is, and what the amount of the policy is, and you made the claim, if you have a claim number and all the rest of that, we'll have the insurance commissioner push on them so that if they have a claim that they're not paying and that they're delaying on, and we're doing this every day for people, we put the push on for that to help. Now, on the second part, which is the bigger and more important part, we anticipate having a very large, robust business grant program for businesses just like yours to help you rebuild your business and get you restarted. It will be announced as soon as we know that the federal money is coming, and then we get the program that we're proposing approved by the feds. My guess is you're talking about 4 to 6 weeks, if everything goes smoothly, that we'll be able to announce that. It will get broad advertisement. There will be a website set up for people to apply right on the line, and a telephone number for people to call to check up on the status of it. And it'll be, as we're going to propose it, a business grant program that will be available to businesses of all sizes to be able to help get them a grant to get back on their feet. What's the amount of money you need to help get you back on your feet? And we'll try to get as close to that amount of money as we can. And that's one of the things from this block grant program I talked about that we're going to use to try to get you all back up on your feet. I haven't seen your marina, but I've seen a number of marinas that have really been ravaged. And so I know the extent of the damage that they typically had, and we're going to try to help you.
Thank you very much. Will this be administered through the Sea Grant program by any chance?
No, it's going to be administered, most likely, it has to be approved by the federal government, so everything is proposed by us. But it'll be most likely administered by our Economic Development Authority at the state.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The person in the pink sweater who stood up before, but now we're going to give it a shot to come back.
Susan Starr, Haven. I'm in the same boat as the aliens. We have beach in the Alpha Marina, and we have been devastated, and our insurance is not paying. So
Now, is your insurance not paying, you don't have it, or
we don't have insurance on the docks, and our insurance that we do have is not paying either.
All right. Well, you're going to get a card from that guy right there, and then we will get the insurance commissioner sticking on your insurance company to make sure they pay the stuff that they do owe. And then secondly, again, the business grant program we're talking about is, I directly pitched this to the president. I talked to him about businesses like yours, that, loans weren't going to get it done. That for you to really get up and running, you need grants from the government. And that the economic development we can create from that would be more than enough to cover the grant over the long-term history of your business, but you're not going to be able to pay any taxes to us or create any economic development for other people if you never get back up and running. So the grant program is going to be available. I hope it's going to be ready in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and then you'll be able to apply for it, and your business is exactly the type of business, as I said with him, that we had in mind on this. Folks that just need a certain amount of money to get themselves reopened, and then they'll be ready to roll again, and the business will get going. So we'll be there for you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much. All right, two wells will come from behind me here.
Good afternoon, Governor.
Good afternoon, sir.
Dave Sonny, Franklin Township, Corporation Number 255.
You got to be a little bit louder.
Governor, with such a large population of organized skilled labor in the Garden State, how do you ensure that these men and women continue working, building New Jersey, and providing for their families in the coming future?
Well, listen, I think, unfortunately, in one respect, because of the level of destruction we've had in the state, as this money starts to come in to rebuild, I don't think you guys are going to be worried much about being unemployed, having any of your members unemployed for too long. We have roughly $37 billion worth of damage done to this city, and we need to begin to rebuild it. And we are starting to rebuild it now. We're going to make sure that we enforce all the licensing laws and codes that we have to make sure that this stuff is done the right way. Because in the end, we don't want to rebuild things and have them shoddily rebuilt and have people have to go back and do it a second time. And so the Attorney General has a very aggressive program through Consumer Affairs to make sure that what's being done is being done in accord with all the New Jersey standards for licensure, and folks that are skilled labor, ready to do this work and do it well and do it right the first time are going to be the folks that we want to be building in our state. So I have a real sense that over the course of now through next fall, there's going to be an enormous amount of work to be done in the state. We're already starting to see that in some of the statistics I've seen recently with employment in the building trades. And there are other projects as well that are coming up, like American Green up in Meadowlands and Bourbon County, which will employ a lot of people in the building trades as well. So I think that while you guys have been through a really tough patch over the last number of years, since 2008, none of us, you or me, any of us would have wished this on New Jersey. But now that it's come, with the help we're going to get from the federal government and the private sector, I think you're going to see a lot of you folks, if not most of you, back to work over the course of the next number of months.
Thanks, sir.
Good afternoon, my name is Mike Glasser. I live in Manhattan. And my question to you would be, when we clean the bay, do the dredging and what have you, what about the creeks and the lagoons? Do they need?
Yes, all of our waterways. All of our waterways that sustain the from standing will be part of the project that the debris removal companies are doing, the dredging companies, and the Army Corps of Engineers. So I focused in my comments on the bay, but the broader answer is all of the state's waterways that have been impacted by Sandy are going to be taken care of in that way to remove debris that's been washed into them, and then to do the appropriate dredging.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Oh, don't break the rule now. Rule number 2. Get the microphone, brother. No reason to be afraid yet.
Governor, thank you for being here today. I have 2 questions, if you don't mind answering.
Sure.
Okay, one is, how much pork did they take out of this money, and how much did they leave in? And the other one is, there's a lot of seniors around. I'm a senior myself. And what can be done with the seniors that have lost almost everything? Their homes are in the lagoons, their homes are broken down, they have no money, they have $800, some of them are getting $800, $900 a month. And there's a few women that are in here today, that I've spoken to and have come up at different times. What can be done to help them?
Sure. On the first question about the pork in the bill, that was all taken out in the House of Representatives bill. The Senate added about $400 million of spending that was unrelated to Sandy. The bill that they passed. When that expired at the end of the last Congress, and the House took up the new bill, Congressman Frelinghuysen, who ran the operation on this new bill, stripped all of the pork out of it. Anything that was passed is now just related to those. Secondly, there's going to be a host of programs that are going to be available, not just for seniors, but for anybody who is displaced from their home. There's going to be rental assistance, there's going to be home restructuring or rebuilding assistance, both from FEMA and from these grants that we're getting from the federal government. And so what I can say to the folks here who have lost their homes, you need to work with your insurance company. If you have flood insurance, you need to work with that. And then the next will be FEMA, and then after that, these grants. And all of them will cascade up against each other. So, you'll get credits for all the other things that you have. If you had flood insurance, homeowners insurance that reimburses some, the $31,900 that you get from FEMA towards that expense. And then there'll be another grant program as well from the money we got in these block grants to help people rebuild. Now, I want to be clear. You may not get reimbursed for every dollar. We're going to try to get you as close as we can. But we've got, at the moment, 42,000 families in New Jersey that are out of their homes still. Not counting some families that are housed with relatives or friends, which make us harder for us to account for them. That's 41,000 families that we know of that are using FEMA-provided housing or rental assistance, hotels and motels and Fort Monmouth housing, housing in apartments that we've rented for them. So we have a significant number of folks. So my hope is to be able to make the grant program as large as possible, but I need to reach as many people as I can as well. So I don't want to mislead people to say you're going to get every dollar back that you need to rebuild your house. You may have to borrow more money and work it as a cocktail. But there's going to be at least 4 different programs that will help folks, senior and non-senior, who have either lost their home or had more than 50% of their home destroyed. And then there'll be another repair program for those who had less than 50% of their home destroyed to help supplement what you need to repair your home. You're welcome. Yes, sir, all the way in the back. Glasses, step, don't look behind you, there's nobody back there. It's you. Come on, brothers. The guy's got nobody behind him.
I feel bad now.
Don't worry about it, we'll make it up.
Thanks for coming today, Governor Christie. Right after the hurricane, you took the approach with the utility companies to put away your rule book and get it done. I feel the insurance companies are sitting on our money. I paid my insurance bill for 25 years. My mortgage. We've gotten 1/10 of the damage fronted from our flood insurance. And the contractors who are working on our house have done an amazing job, but we cannot expect them to rebuild the shore off their credit. So we need to get going.
Yeah, you and I, let me stop you there. Because I've come to the same conclusion you have. And I had my Hurricane Sandy working group together this morning at 11 o'clock in my office. And I told the insurance commissioner, the banking and insurance commissioner this morning, that whatever he was doing was not enough. That what I was hearing from folks like you and others that I've met as I've traveled around the state, is that these insurance reimbursements are not coming nearly quickly enough, and that I'm beginning to become suspicious that, they've collected the premiums but don't want to pay the losses. Okay? So, here's the deal. You collect the premiums, you pay the losses. And so I told him that when we get together next week, next Tuesday, that I expect him to present to me an aggressive plan to put pressure, regulatory pressure on the insurance companies to go faster and to get this money out to our homeowners and get them helping to rebuild their business. Get for 80 days or so, we've all been patient enough. And now, to just throw one note in of some fairness to them, there are hundreds of thousands of claims in New Jersey. And they have to send their claims adjusters, and they have to process their paperwork, and all the rest of that. But all that having been said, it's still not happening fast enough. And I get the same sense you do, that they may be sitting on some money here. And that's not helping you and your family. It's not helping the state from an economic perspective, and it's not the right thing to do. So I've been patient, I waited 80 days, now it's time to go back. So we're going to long plan next week. Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming. My name is Mary Romano, I'm with the Van Dyke Group. I'm a realtor and I live in Beach Haven West. Many of my clients, aside from being frustrated with not getting insurance money, have decided I'll move forward, I'll do my own rebuild, and then I'll be reimbursed. One of the things that is standing in their way is the advisory base that way. Advisors. I was at a meeting on Monday, and I was told it was going to be years until it was here. I've talked to hundreds
Look at the
of
advisor's
clients.
letter, right?
Correct. Two scary factors. They don't know what it is, and it's holding back people from rebuilding because they don't know where it is today.
Here we go. Ready? I'm going to solve the problem right now. I'm making this decision about the elevations and what the maps are going to be like, and I'm making a decision next week. giving up time, and you need to know. And now listen, I haven't made the final decision yet, and we'll announce it next week, and I've got more work to do over the weekend. And, I mean, I'm learning stuff that I never had any business learning, okay? I'm looking at maps and splash maps and flood maps and all kinds of stuff, but I understand what my goal is going to be. My goal is to try to give you the most aggressive protective standards I can give you. If they decide to lower them later on, well, if they decide to lower them later on, then you'll benefit from that in your flood insurance premiums. Because you'll be built to a higher standard, the federal standard will be a little bit lower, and then your flood insurance premiums will go down. What I don't want to have happen is to have people build to old standards, right, because they don't know what the new standards are, and then they get a huge flood insurance bill, because you say, oh, well, you built the old standards, but the new standards are much higher, so now your flood insurance is going to cost, instead of $2,000, $20,000. And that's possible, okay? So the fact of the matter is, to understand where I'm going to be coming from on this, I'm going to be very aggressive about it, and I'm going to want us to build to good, aggressive standards to protect our property. But I absolutely agree with you that people are stalled right now because they don't know what to do. And I've had this conversation with my staff. I've said to them, hell with it, I'm deciding. And I'll decide, we'll set the standard in the group, let everybody else follow up. We'll do anyway. That's all I'm saying. So that decision is going to come to you next week.
Okay, second part.
Yep.
Full service was being on Monday, and the clients have, they're in the pre-firm, FIRM, and they were told you were kind of grandfathered, and you won't get those scary numbers of flood insurance going up to $5,000 to $7,000. Pre-firm. The FEMA agent told me there is no such thing as pre-firm, post-firm. Everybody will abide by the same standards.
The FEMA person's right. Everyone's going to abide by the same standards. And that's the point I was just making to you in the first one, which is the decision we make on what standards we build is going to be what's going to determine your flood insurance premiums. If we rebuild to a lower standard, I can guarantee you, after this storm, you're going to see huge increases in flood insurance premiums. If you rebuild to a higher standard, you're going to see lower flood insurance premiums. So, building to a higher standard is going to cost a little more now, but you're going to recoup that money over the same flood insurance premiums you're going to have over the years you have your house. And if we get another storm, your house is much more likely to survive intact than it would be if we built to the old standards. So they're right about that. Everyone's going to wind up paying the same thing, depending on what zone you're in and all the rest. But we're going to handle it by saying, we're setting new standards. Here they are. They're aggressive, and when you then build to those standards, you're going to benefit from that in the long run in your flood insurance premiums, because they will be definitively lower than those people, I mean significantly, geometrically lower than those people who decide to build to the old standards. So we'll make that announcement next week, so there'll be no more mystery to it. Everyone will know what they need to build to, and then they can make decisions of how they want to proceed.
Good job.
Thank you.
Welcome, Governor. My name is Susan Brooks. I'm from Little Egg Harbor. Nothing happened to my house whatsoever in this last storm. But yet I got a letter from my insurance company, my flood insurance company. They're going to put me in a flood zone, because we're rezoned, and raise my rates from $365 to $1,700.
Now, this is the extension of what I just spoke to her about. There are new flood maps coming out. There's advisory flood maps that are out already. And based upon the history of storms that we've had here and the level of damage we've had, more people are going to be in a flood zone now than were in a flood zone before. And that's going to happen. Now, we can work with you, and Joe will give you his card to work with you on the numbers and make sure that what they're doing is right and appropriate under the standards we're going to set. But there's no question, everybody, that we're going to have more homes in flood zones in New Jersey than we had before Sandy. Why? Homes that weren't in flood zones got flooded. Got destroyed. Yours, thankfully, did not. But the flood zones are going to expand and become larger. And that's based upon not just science, but that's just based upon the real life experience of what's happening here. And so I understand that is going to be a burden on some folks, a real burden on some folks. But I can tell you that it's coming.
Well, the thing is that the $1,700 is what people on the booze and in flood zones of Kenya.
Not anymore, they won't be.
I understand.
Well, and that's,
I don't know how they did it.
what you're getting is, well, and then those people most likely had their homes partially or significantly damaged or destroyed, unlike you, and they're gonna have to decide on how to rebuild and reconstruct. If they rebuild and reconstruct to a higher standard, then they're gonna get a break on their premiums. So it's all gonna be, there's lots of decisions people are gonna have to make. The decision the government's gonna make is to what standards we build to. And then you're gonna decide, do you build to those standards or you don't? If you don't, then you're gonna see a bigger flood insurance premium. Now, if you do, it's gonna cost you more upfront. But if it costs you more upfront, you're gonna recoup that money on the back end with the flood insurance premiums that you're not gonna be paying. So, or you can decide not to get flood insurance. But if you decide not to get flood insurance and you get flooded, then you're gonna be in a world of hurt too. Let me be clear with you. None of these are good decisions. None of them are easy decisions, and none of them are happy decisions. But they're decisions that we're all gonna have to be making and making together over the course of the next number of weeks and months. And so we'll work with you to see where we are in the numbers. But everybody here should know that, you know, when you have this type of event, this is what's gonna happen. You know, when places that weren't in flood zone before, not only been flooded, but have been destroyed.
Well, I filled
They're gonna
out,
change them.
they sent me a questionnaire to see if I was, and I filled it out, and I said, if I send it back, will this change anything? And she said, no. I said, so you've already made up your mind before they come out?
They haven't made up their mind. This is imposed upon them by the federal government, okay? The federal government, FEMA, determines the flood maps, okay? So now, what may happen is, as they study this, because the woman over here said it was 2 years, she was told, which is right. The advisory flood maps that come out now will not be finalized for 2 years from now. But you don't want to wait 2 years to decide if your home's destroyed, whether to rebuild it to what standard. So you put out the advisory maps, the state that adopts certain standards. If it turns out that you're put into a flood zone now, but after the 2-year period, they determine that that was too aggressive, you don't belong in a flood zone, then you'll be taken out of the flood zone. In the intervening 2 years, you're gonna be paying a higher premium. If it turns out you were mistakenly put in a flood zone, then you won't be paying the higher premium anymore. But that's all, that part is just gonna take time. And they've told us anywhere from 18 to 24 months. So that's where the problem is. But the issue is you wanna make sure they get it right. But also, I can't sit around and wait for 18 to 24 months to figure out how to tell people how to rebuild. Because the shore will go away. You know, people will just leave and abandon properties and not know what to do. So or they'll build to a lower standard. We can't have that. So it's a problem, and it's a problem that I can't immediately solve for you.
Thank you.
But what I suspect will happen with you is if you don't really belong in a flood zone, you probably won't end up there 18 to 24 months from now. But you're probably gonna have to wait that period of time and pay some larger premiums in the interim in order to get that answer. That's my guess as to what will probably happen. All right. Yes, ma'am, right there.
Thank you for coming to Manahawkin. I'll speak for Little Lake Harbor in all areas. I'm very disappointed with everything. My first problem is my town, Little Lake Harbor, is issuing, I think because of DEP, that all bulkheads are to be repaired. Now, because they are mandatory that all bulkheads will be repaired, we get tickets, summonses, have to go to court because you can't afford to get your bulkhead fixed. So, now they're going to say we have to raise our houses. Is my town going to make that mandatory? Issuing tickets and sentences on that? I'm paying $1,000 worth of tickets every time I have a ticket. They let me make a payment plan, which is really nice. And then they issue me another ticket before I even got the last ticket paid off for my bulkhead. So I'm really concerned because I can't afford to get my bulkhead fixed. I would love to get my bulkhead fixed. I don't want my property going into a lagoon. And now I feel I'll probably be forced out because they're going to force me to now raise my house. And if I don't raise my house, then I'll have to pay $10,000 a year for flood insurance because my house wasn't raised to meet up to the standards.
Well, on one part of it, I'm going to try to help, and on the second part, I'm going to try to explain. On the first part of it, the tickets for the bulkheads, that doesn't sound right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I mean, having it done to you, listen to me now, having it done to you doesn't sound right. Okay? So, especially in circumstances after a storm like this. So, what I'd like you to do is get in touch with our guys. You can give his card, whether you call them or email them or however it's most convenient for you. Give them all the ticket numbers, give them the dates and all the reasons that it happened, whatever you paid up until now, and we're going to have the Department of Community Affairs interact with Little Egg Harbor Township and ask them, what are you doing? So we're going to try to get that. And plus, this grant program that we're talking about to repair homes is also going to be available to folks who need certain things done to make their homes habitable. Now, if the bulkhead is one of those things that is going to be necessary, you can also apply for a grant to get help in doing that as well. Why they're ticketing you in the interim, pardon?
I was denied to get a loan.
This is a whole different thing, okay? If you're hearing me today, the program that's getting passed by the House that isn't even law yet, that we think will be law next week, will provide a whole bunch of different programs. Of course, under the current FEMA stuff, you're not going to get reimbursed for your bulkhead or any help with your bulkhead. That's why I'm asking for the more money, because there's certain needs in this state that are not met by the statutes that are in play in the federal government right now, that we need these flexible grants to be able to deal with, because they don't know about the bulkhead situation in New Jersey or the right of federal laws. I'm the governor, I know about it, and so I want to try to be helpful in that regard. So there may be some help for you there. Secondly, on the raising of your home, elevation of your home, and flood insurance. Listen, you can choose not to. I mean, there are choices to be made here. Now, you can choose not to get flood insurance. I mean, listen, I understand there's no, well, just hear me out. I understand that if you have a mortgage on your house, that the mortgagor is going to require you to have flood insurance. The fact of the matter is that there are going to be choices that need to be made here that are going to be unpleasant choices. And when you live on the water, in everything that's happened in the last number of years, and the damages that have occurred, think about what's gone on just inside the governor. We've had Irene, now we've had Sandy, we've had these incredible snowstorms, we've had these flooding nor'easters. I'm waiting for, like, the locusts and the frogs to start falling, right? I mean, it's been insane 3 years. The premiums have to reflect the risk. As the risk continues to go up, and the amount of payments on claims continue to go up, the premiums have to reflect that. And so there's choices that people are going to have to make. In this new world we're living in, with greater risks and greater losses being made, and are going to get more expensive. So on the first side of it, I think we can help them with these tickets, because this doesn't make any sense to me. It sounds abusive to be doing that in the immediate aftermath of a storm. It looks like to me, it sounds like, if everything you tell me is true, and I have no reason to believe it isn't, that it sounds like a revenue grab by a town who's looking to make some money and to fill some gaps. It doesn't sound right to me. That's why we're going to try to advocate on your behalf of other people there, to say, really, in 80 days after the worst storm the state's ever seen, you're going to start writing tickets? I mean, does that really make sense? Is that the kind of friendly township that we want to really be having? So we're going to try to help you there. And on the insurance side of things, I have to tell you, there's no easy answers for you. Sure, you're like deep in now. Okay, go ahead.
They actually told my husband that if our boss wasn't fixed in 30 days, they were going to put him in jail.
Well, guess what? I say, you know what? I might go back to the private practice of law and take that. Let me make clear to you. If you get all this stuff tomorrow, Gene Ashworth here is the person in charge of our constituent relations. You get this information to Gene, who's going to come up to you right now. The commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs, who oversees all the municipalities, get this to Constable tomorrow. Commissioner Constable will be on the phone with the elected officials of Little Lake Harbor Township to get an explanation for what's going on. What else is coming on?
Hi, my name is Jessica DeFrancia, and I'm also a realtor in Little Lake Harbor. And I'm very sorry to hear the last woman's comments. Mary and Romano asked a very good question, and you answered it for her. So basically, I just want to say I'm a mother of 4 boys who do not play Black Ops, and I would like to just let you know that you're doing a stellar job with your staff.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Colleen Cochran, and I am the student council president at All Saints over there.
I knew you were formidable. I could tell. She was raising that hand strongly, had a nice smile on her face. I'm like, this is a politician in training. I could spot him from a mile away. I'm glad I'll be terminated before she can get old enough to run for governor.
We just wanted to thank you for coming to one of our parishes today, and we greatly appreciate all of your efforts. We ourselves have been making efforts in our community. For example, we have set up a hurricane relief fund. I myself and my family were affected by Hurricane Sandy. And we have also been encouraging people to purchase products made in America through our Made in America product. One of our we do lots of plays at our school, so we're doing The Little Mermaid, and we are encouraging the awareness of Restore the Shore through that. But we want to know, what else can we do to help our community?
You want to run for lieutenant governor? I'm only kidding, Kim. I'm sorry. She's really good. Listen, you're doing a lot already, and I think that the best thing that you can do is to continue to talk about and raise the awareness we're talking about how important the shore is to, first and foremost, your family, and then out to the whole culture of this region. And then if we don't restore the shore in the way that we need to, that more is going to be lost than just dollars and cents. It's a way of life for people who live here, for people who vacation here. It's a way of life for folks. And I think you're doing a lot already. I think the most you can continue to do is continue to raise that awareness, continue to talk about how special this place is, how important it is, and how all New Jerseyans really want is to help our lives get right back to normal the way they used to be. It's going to take us a little while to get there, and we're going to need help from folks like you and your families to be able to pitch in and help like you've been doing already. That's not going to end in the next week or 2 or month. There are going to be people who are going to need your help, and the state as a whole is going to need the support of our citizens to be able to get back on our feet in the right way. But it's incredibly encouraging to me, and I suspect to most of you, and I'll give you this compliment at the end, to see 800 people here. You and I are meeting for the first time, right? For you to stand up and be as articulate and self-assured, that gives me more confidence about the future of New Jersey than anything else. Right? That's it. That's all you're hoping as a father, right? Pick it up and do that, and okay. We're moving in the right direction. All right, we got the guy with the D hat on back there.
How you doing, Governor?
All right. Just put the microphone closer to you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had heard that you had signed an executive order to have the insurances waive all deductibles.
Not all deductibles.
Okay, what is that?
There's a hurricane deductible. And when Sandy came on shore, she was not a hurricane. She was a superstorm. And so I signed an executive order to waive any hurricane deductibles that were in people's insurance policies. I can't waive the other deductibles, but I can waive the hurricane deductible because it is inaccurate to say that when Sandy came on shore in New Jersey, it was a hurricane. When it came on shore, it was a superstorm, not a hurricane. And so we're not letting insurance companies take the hurricane deductible. Other deductibles apply, but the hurricane deductible doesn't. I was wondering if someone would do a resort to the standing and waving routine. This is always a very tough decision for me because I don't want to like turn this into like, you know, an NFL stadium and people are doing the wave and trying to get their call on them. On the other hand, that's an enormous amount of enthusiasm that you showed. So, okay, come on, right there. Yeah, well, listen, you know you're the only one standing and waving, but so you weren't standing and waving, you know. I picked her. She was standing and waving. I like you, but she was standing and waving. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm from Beach Haven West. Now, you know Beach Haven West is a very modest community. Mostly bungalows and slabs.
Yep.
This, to me now, after Sandy, seems like the end of a modest American dream. We are broken court here. We have been told that taxes are going to go up after the storm. We're already paying quite enough.
Yep.
We're also being told flood insurance is going to be raised. This modern, modest American dream is over for many of us. We're wondering whether to walk away, whether this little area that we love is going to be blighted. We need help. We're worried about the integrity of our land. We're on lagoons, 25 feet from the water. We're being told that we are forced to raise our homes. The amount to raise the home and the flood insurance and the taxes being raised are forcing this American dream right out of our grasp.
I'm concerned about the same thing you are, not only in places like Beach Haven West, but in places like Orkney Beach and others along the shore where you're right, where people could have an affordable place that was close to the beach and someplace they could come with their families and have you know, the kind of vacation that only the Jersey Shore offers you to have. That's why all these different grant programs I think would be really helpful, okay? I don't know if they're going to solve every one of your problems, but first, let's start with the property taxes. With the amount of federal money that's coming in here and our ability to be able to reimburse municipalities for a large amount of their expenses, I don't see at the moment why there would have to be enormous increases. For instance, for debris removal in the town, we're now paying, the federal government's now paying 90% of the cost of the debris removal, and we've applied to get 100% payment of that debris removal. A lot of the other costs that the towns have will be able to be reimbursed. The real question is going to be, how many of you can afford to rebuild? And what happens to the property tax base? And if fewer people rebuild, then that's going to mean more cost to the ones who do rebuild. So that's why the grant program we put together does a few things. It not only addresses, you know, the big, large homes and the beachfront homes, but it also addresses the homes in places like Beach Haven West. You are going to have to make a decision about elevation versus flood insurance premiums. You're going to have to make a decision. That decision may be forced upon you in this sense, that if you don't have enough of the money up front to do the elevation, you're going to have to worry about paying the back-end flood insurance cost as an ongoing cost. If you don't want to sustain the ongoing cost of flood insurance, you're going to have to try to figure out a way between grants and loans to be able to elevate your home to avoid the big ongoing cost. There will be a choice. It may be a Hobson's choice for you, and I understand that. It's not going to be an easy choice. But through these grant programs, what we're trying to accomplish is to give you a choice. Right now, you feel lost and without a choice, and I understand that. And that's why I fought so hard to have the flexibility to set up these programs for places like you're talking about. So we're not only taking care of large homes that you know, folks have built over time, but also these smaller shore communities and mini communities within communities that, like you said, better than I can, you know, provided, you know, an American dream to folks to be able to have a place for them to go with their families and to enjoy the beautiful resources we have in the state. So my advice to you would be, don't give up yet. Okay, we've got 4 to 6 weeks, I think, to put this program together once it passes Congress. Then those grant programs will be available to homeowners like you, grants to help to elevate your home, grants to help restore your home if it's still structurally sound, and then grants to help to rebuild your home. And those are going to be available to folks. And especially for folks with modest homes, the grants are going to go much further, obviously, towards total payment for your loss. And so I would urge people who are in modest communities like East Haven West, don't give up yet. I can't promise you that we're going to be able to fix it and restore it the way it was. I don't know. But we're trying as hard as we can to give you the opportunity to do it for yourself through these kind of grant programs rather than loan programs, which will just add more debt onto you that you just can't afford. And that was my argument to the president. Mr. President, you're thinking about, the homes in Bayhead and Maniloki that big TV stars have and really wealthy people, but I'm telling you, there's a whole different Jersey Shore that you don't know about, because you're not from there. We need this grant program to be able to help that Jersey Shore as well. I was talking to Bruce Springsteen about this, and he was saying that was his biggest worry, was that the shore that he knew growing up and that I knew growing up, where not only could the Wall Street broker or the high-priced doctor or lawyer or engineer could afford a house at the shore, but that the hard-working carpenter, the police officer, the firefighter could scrape their money together and get a little place at the shore where they could also bring their families and have that be a part of the cultural fabric of the Jersey Shore. We don't want it to be a haven for just the wealthy. We want it to be a place where all New Jerseyans feel comfortable in coming and able to be able to own a piece of it. And so that's what we're going to try to do for you. I'm going to try to help you.
The integrity of the land. Most of us that live on the booms know that our homes are very modest. If you start putting pilings into 25 homes lined up on the street with a lagoon 25 feet from the back of your home, are they going to hold?
Well, the fact of the matter is that those are going to have to be engineering decisions that are going to be made by people who are a heck of a lot smarter than me about that stuff. Obviously, you're not going to want to elevate homes on pilings. I'm not sure that we have to go to pilings elevations necessarily in those homes.
That's what we're being told.
Well, I understand that, but they have no basis to tell you that because we haven't even adopted the standards yet.
Thank
So they're just speculating about it. Whoever's telling you that doesn't have any basis to tell you that yet. Because if you don't know if you don't know what standards you have, that's why in answer to her question, I said we're going to make a decision next week about standards. And depending on what decision we make, it may not be a pilings elevation, it may be a smaller elevation, but significantly less expensive to be able to accommodate. So that's why I want to make this decision on the flood mapping and the standards quickly. Because there's lots of misinformation getting out there that are causing people to have a lot of distress, or worse, to make decisions based upon faulty information. So next week, I'll be announcing the new building standards. That'll be the floor in the state that everybody has to meet. If it turns out 2 years from now they change the maps and they make it better, great. But that'll mean your flood insurance will be even lower if you go ahead and do it. But I don't want people building to lower standards that will wind up hurting them in the future, either through the destruction of the property or through astronomical flood insurance premiums that wind up becoming a second mortgage on the house that you're simply not going to be able to afford. So that's the announcement you'll hear next week. So do a favor for me. Until you hear from me next week, take a deep breath. Don't think that it's all over yet. Between the grant programs, the standards we're going to put into effect, I think we're going to give you a shot to be able to keep what you have. Thanks, all right. I've been told by my staff that I was down to the last question. Now listen, here's the thing about last question. Last question, usually blow the pressure's on me because there's probably about 40 people with their hands up here, and I only get to pick one, and then 39 people will be unhappy. But I want to also say that the person I picked has enormous pressure on them. See, because if you ask us a really stupid question, I'm telling you that this crowd will turn on you in a heartbeat. They will turn on you. I've seen it happen. So with that advice in mind, go to the young lady waving the American flag. Right over there. Another good ploy if you come to another town. It's right up there with you jumping and dancing and waving. Where's my jumper and dancer and waver? Did you leave? No, she's right there. Okay, good. By the way, see, next time, next time, if you don't want to jump and dance and wave, show the American flag. You can use that too. It gets my attention every time. So people still don't want me to jump and dance and wave. You can just put the American flag in there. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Governor.
Put a little closer.
I want to say first, thank you very much for fighting for us. Very much. Unfortunately, I'm one of the victims. And,
Where are you from?
Chatham West. In one of the worst areas. I had flood insurance, $250,000 flood insurance.
Yep.
We are the original owner since 1964. You multiply that interest, a lot more than that $250,000. My insurance is done with me with $40,000. I have structure damage. My house burned down. My floor, my main beam of my floor is broken away. And this is what they said to me.
Well, they're not done with me. Okay, we'll work to try to help you. Where's Gene? Gene here? Gene, I want you to do this thing directly, okay? We'll get the insurance agency's office advocating for you. Doesn't sound right to me, and I don't want you have to be worried about this every day long as you do. We'll fight for you individually, we'll fight for the whole state collectively, and let's see if we can do a little bit better than what we're doing right now. Okay? Let me say thank you to all of you for coming. Like I said at the top, the town hall meetings are not, I mean, I'd be basically talking to myself if you didn't show up. It would be a lot less interesting, I can guarantee you. And so thank you, first of all, for coming. For so many of you who had so many really kind things to say, I want to let you know that for me, you should know that it's not just about me. That I have a group of people who work with me every day, in my cabinet, my senior staff, who've been working 18-hour days since the storm hit in October, 6-7 days a week, because we're all learning about how to deal with this stuff, you know. They don't put this in the new governor's school, okay? You don't get, like, how do you deal with an unprecedented, unprecedented superstorm? You know, how do you deal with flood insurance policies, elevating, flood maps, all this stuff. It doesn't come in the manual. And so we're all learning as we go along. I have a great staff and a great cabinet who are working hard for you every day. And so all the thanks that you give to me, believe me, I take and I appreciate it and I pass on to them. Because they do extraordinary work for you. And I want to conclude with this. You know, 3 years ago, at least 3 years ago, this weekend, that I became governor. And I remember what things were like 3 years ago when I took over. And you kind of remember where we were as a state, right? Remember that weekend before I got sworn in? The poll came out from Monmouth University, and they asked that question that they always ask. You know, at the beginning of these polls, do you think your state's moving in the right direction, or do you think it's off on the wrong track? That weekend, the polls came out and said that 27% of the people in New Jersey thought the state was moving in the right direction. Almost only a quarter of the people in the state thought that the place they called home, where they lived, was moving in the right direction. It was a reflection not only on a government that thought that it lost its way, but on each other. You know, New Jersey had become, during those years when I was U.S. Attorney, a place that was known for political corruption, corrupt officials on the take, not caring about the people that they were elected to serve. You know, we put 130 politicians in jail in the 7 years that I was U.S. attorney, who were breaking their word, breaking their oath, and breaking the law. We were known for that all over the country. The people used to ask me if New Jersey was the most corrupt state in America. When I was U.S. attorney, I used to say, you know, all I can say is this. When I go to bed every night and I say my prayers, I thank God for Illinois and Louisiana. You know, as long as they're still in the Union, we'll never be number one. We were known around the country for the Sopranos and the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And God forbid those kids from the Jersey Shore, right? I know, I'm believe I tell Paul this all the time. They're from New York. Right? And Staten Island, and these idiots at MTV parachute them into New Jersey and try to convince America that this is what New Jersey's kids look like, you know? That's what we were known for in that January 2010. That's how we felt about each other, too. And in the 3 years since, it's not that everything's gone perfectly, because it hasn't. But in the 3 years since, there's a different feeling in the state now. We're known around the country. No longer are we only heard about on David Letterman and Jay Leno and Jimmy Kimmel and Jon Stewart and Saturday Night Live. But now we're being talked about on the Sunday talk shows and the evening news because we're doing something different here. We're leading. We're making hard decisions. We're telling people exactly how we feel, and we're saying it straight, and we're saying it bluntly, and we're saying it directly, and whether people like it or not, we're giving it right to them in the way we see it in this state. And we're having that conversation with each other. I remember when I started to do my radio show, that I do once a month on 101.5, Ask the Governor. One of my old law partners said to me, because there was so much confrontation in the beginning, he said to me, Chris, you're going to rename the show to Ask the Governor, Paul, if you dare. But I felt like we needed to have that conversation as a state. We needed to be honest with each other once again. We needed to say, listen, we got problems and we need to fix them, and they're not easy to fix. I now think that all that stuff we were doing for the 3 years, all those hard decisions we were making, was leading us to today, was leading us to October 29th. Because only if we had made all those tough decisions and gone through all those tough things together could we possibly be ready for what hit us on October 29th. And not just cave and fold like a group of defeated people. Instead, we did the exact opposite. We rose up in a way that the entire country has seen and is used as an example for how you respond to a crisis like this and how you can be tough and resilient and caring and loving to each other. And so now, after this storm, after all the horrible things that happened to us, they came out with a poll last week that asked the same question. He said, do you think the state's moving in the right direction? Do you think it's off on the wrong track? 61% of New Jersey said we're moving in the right direction. That's how you feel about the problem. And so, I want you to know how fortunate I feel to have the chance to be governor. Now, I was born here, and I was raised here. I dragged Mary Pat here kicking and screaming nearly 27 years ago from Pennsylvania. My mother-in-law still hasn't forgiven me. And I told Mary Pat I was driving over the Driscoll Bridge the other day, coming down to Bradley Beach, watching them start rebuilding their dunes as Bradley Beach, which is doing right now as we speak. And they had a big billboard, a billboard as you're going south on the parkway to the left as you're going over the Driscoll Bridge. I'm going over, it's kind of at the top of Driscoll Bridge, heading to the downhill side. And I look over to my left, and damn if it's not my wife on this huge electronic billboard. Like her head is like 8 feet tall. And it was the advertisement for the Sandy Relief Fund. And I called her on the phone from the car, and I said to her, well, if you didn't think you were a Jersey girl before, you sure are now. And that's it. Just face this on that billboard, that's all. We feel extraordinarily fortunate for the chance that you've given us as a family, the chance you've given me to be the governor of the state where I was born and raised. I will tell you that I still walk into the State House. I did it today. I walked in the front door and I went down the hall through the rotunda, And you go down a little bit further, on the right-hand side is my office, there's 2 glass doors, and on one of them it says, Christie, Governor. I go, damn, how the hell did this happen? How did this happen? And you know, on the days when the legislature's there, if you're really quiet, and you stand right there, as word travels in that building, you can hear the Democrats saying the exact same thing. How the hell did this happen? How did this happen? Of course, they are saying it for completely different reasons than I am, but I want you to know how lucky I feel. Even in these days that have been incredibly difficult and challenging for us as a people together, and certainly for me as the leader of this state, I've drawn my strength, as I said in the beginning, from you. And I've drawn my inspiration from you. And when they put me on the cover of Time magazine looking all tough and ugly, right? I'm representing you. Because that's how tough we are. And you know, that's exactly right. We're strong, strong people. And we're going to need to be strong to get through the next few months and year of rebuilding. But I'm at every conference in the world that we're going to. And so, this is the heart. Right here, this is why we picked Stafford for the 100th Town Hall today. This is the heart of where New Jersey is going to be rebuilt. Then we're going to know New Jersey is back, completely back from this storm. So, thanks for letting me enjoy the 100th Town Hall with all of you. You've been a great audience, and for the people who are in the overflow room, if you're still there, sorry you had to sit in there, but thanks for coming anyway. I'm glad we can let you see part of this. And you should know, as you leave here today, that I am an extraordinarily grateful, happy person to have the extraordinary honor of being able to call myself the governor of the state of New Jersey. Thank you all very much.